All right, here we go. We're here. What's up, everybody on YouTube and Twitch? Hello. We've got the Guru with us today. Say hi
Howdy.
to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So, before we get into the questions, you told me that there was a pretty good story behind your name because I was joking with you in my setup
Yes.
for this stream. So for those of you that don't know a little bit of behind the scenes of how the workflow goes for these spotlights. Our amazing graphics team makes all the graphics, right? So as soon as a guest is kind of scheduled in for a date, uh, when it's a couple weeks out or a week out, I'll reach out to the graphics team and say, here's the person's name, here's the picture they sent, this is what they want on their nameplate. They do an amazing job. I love our graphics team. They're one of the hardest working teams at Giants because, I mean, they're not just doing stream stuff. That's the least important thing that they do, probably, because they're doing box art and all kinds of promotional materials. They're the ones that are doing the fact sheets that you guys see. So many things. They're super busy, but they're awesome. So with your name, when I was submitting that request and when I was doing the social media posts and changing the title for the stream, I'm like, am I getting enough O's and goo and enough O's and roo? So you said that you would tell me the story behind your name. I want to know the story now before we get into
Yes,
anything
it's a
else.
lot of O's for sure. The story behind the name was actually stems back from fantasy football, and I
Okay.
won a championship. So then we went and decided the same group's going to play other fantasy sports, and I ended up winning hockey, baseball, and all that. And I was like, oh, that one guy was like, why ain't you just a guru? And it just kind of stuck. And then when I translated it into online gaming, apparently there's a lot of know-it-alls that like to name themselves the guru. So I had to get really creative in spelling it. And I went through and I was watching wrestling, and you know how they'll the guru, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of I spelled it how it would sound, and that's how it came out.
I like it. I like it. So we actually grew up in almost the same area of the U.S., but you and I sound completely different. But you just said
Yes,
wrestling, and now I'm thinking about all my family. I'm thinking about all my family growing up. Like
wrestling.
my
Yeah.
mom, my granny, my cousins, they all said wrestling too. I love it, man. In
Yeah.
fact, my mom would be like, but my mom would swear that wrestling is what you do in high school and college, on the mat, and then wrestling is WWE and all that. There's even a difference to her, which is which. I love it. Great story though about the name. It's funny how things like that stick. That's how the Kerminator happened for me years ago. I've told that story before. And when you feel that name and it fits right, you just you run with it, don't you? And
Yeah, you just have to stick with it.
for sure, for sure, I love it. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you're here. I've been watching your streams for a while now, lurking sometimes saying hi in chat like I do. By the way, I've had some people recently he doesn't come around my stream anymore, and I may be there without you knowing it. So sometimes I'm too busy to say hi. I love watching farm sim streamers, getting to know people. Yeah, he is nice and fancy and
You
dressed up,
noticed
isn't
that,
he?
didn't you, Psycho?
He's got the tie on. So yeah, I've enjoyed myself when I get to hang out in your streams. You got a very laid back, welcoming approach to your community, willing to help people out, have a good conversation. I remember though, the first time that I said something in your chat, you just lit up like a Christmas tree, man. You were just so happy. I can't believe you're here.
Well, I mean, it comes back to where I'm from, I guess. A lot of people overlook people from my area. So when, I don't know, I go into everything with a little bit of chip on my shoulder with that, because a lot of people see the accent or hear the accent, and they automatically go a different route. So,
Right,
and my main goal when I stream is to have fun. I mean, I'm streaming a game, and you play games to have fun. So
right.
if you come in my stream, I want you to have fun. I want you to have, be laid back. And
That's cool,
that's what
man.
it's about. It's having fun. So,
My wife still has the accent quite a bit. She's born and raised in West Virginia, so she's got the Appalachian accent, and we've now lived
Thank you
in.
for saying it correctly, by the
So we were in, of course. I mean, I'm from there, right? It's definitely Appalachian. So we actually went on vacation recently, and we went to Tennessee. We went to the Smoky Mountains, and we found a T-shirt that says, "Yes, you're judged by the way you say Appalachia." And we were like, we have
way.
to buy this shirt. So it's a great shirt. But yeah, there's my wife in chat. She said, I
Yes.
feel that, been through that myself with my accent. She's just been
Yes.
applying for jobs. So um, you a bit about my wife and I, just real quick. About like 10 years ago, we decided to move from West Virginia to Colorado. The point was for me to like chase my dream and get a dream job. Now here I am sitting with you because of Farming Simulator. Definite dream job for me. And then the plan was always, once I found that we were going to switch, and then she was going to go and find out what she wanted to do. She really wants to get into baking. So she took classes, and she's been applying for jobs recently. And she recently got one. And during the interview, they asked her, like, what's one thing that people misunderstand about you? And she actually said, they hear my accent and learn where I'm from, and like they underestimate me. They don't think that I can do this, that, or the other. So she can definitely relate. She's held on to the accent, unlike me. I guess just like years of broadcasting and public speaking has beat it out of me. I don't know. I still have it a little
Maybe.
bit,
It's hard
especially
to tell.
when I'm around my family. It comes out more, for sure. But I've somehow lost it. She's got it though. She's super charming, great accent. So she can relate with you for sure. All right, so let's get into the questions now. The Guru from Southwest Virginia. Tell me, what was your first farming simulator game that you played?
Probably Farm Sim 15 on Xbox.
All right, 15 on Xbox. Was it like
Yes.
was it a free game, or like did you buy it because it was cheap, or did you play it when it was brand new?
That's a long time ago. I cannot answer that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What was it about it though? Like, did you grow up around farms? Like, what was it about the game that like you were like, I'm gonna try out Farming Simulator?
Well, I've always had a thing for tractors.
Okay.
And growing up, I never really got to drive one. I was always the flunky when I got to help out on a farm. I was the guy that threw the hay bales up onto the trailer or caught the hay bales and stacked them.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to know what it's like to drive tractors. So I just started playing the game, and I've kind of fell in love with it.
Okay. That's a good enough
I'm
reason.
trying to get XR says that if I ever make it up to his farm, he will let me drive his tractor. So
Yeah,
that's a
he
goal for me.
he was in this stream like last week or the week before saying that I could drive the combine. I'm like, you must have really good insurance, man. You must have really good insurance. He's like, I'll put you in the gleaner and put you to work. And I was like, that you have a
Yeah.
lot of faith in me, man. That would be cool though. Definitely would like to do that myself one day. XR is a cool dude. And yeah, he's one of those people who does real life
Can't believe
farming,
Tony
still
doubted
plays
me.
our game as well. Tony
Tony
doubted you.
doubted me. He doubted me today when I told him I was wearing a tie. He doubted me. Shame on you, Tony.
Oh man. Okay, well, that's cool. Also, what's up, Dave from G Portal, and everyone else? Hello, I see you in chat. Thanks for being
lot
here.
of fans here.
I love it, man. This is what I love about the spotlight. You always see like the familiar names, and then you see the person's community coming in as well. It's awesome to see them show up and support you, because that's what it's about, isn't it?
Flips on and off, Tony. See?
Oh, it's just well, see, you should have not even given him that bit of information. I would have just
Well,
gone with.
Tony was wanting to cut it off. I can't have it. It's my fancy tie.
What was it about Farm Sim that like kept you coming back though after you found it? Because now, I mean, fast forward all these years, here you are now, Farming Simulator 22. You've been playing it a lot, streaming it a lot, and now you get to sit down and chat with us. So I'm curious to know, like, what was it about the game that really, made you fall in love with it?
I think overall the community, the people that I met playing it online, um, I prefer to play online versus by myself because you get what I like to call a moving farm. I think it's amazing when I'm driving a combine and you're pulling up beside of me with a tractor and unloading it on the go. I feel it's really neat and fun.
Yeah, I think the
So
game
that's
really
kind of what
shines.
brings me back is the community. So
Yeah, well, I as the community coordinator, I love that answer, of course, but you're right. Like, I mean, so I found out about the game because of a friend and then tried it because of a friend gifting it to me all those years ago. And then as soon as a different friend was like, "Oh, you should rent a server and like I'll totally get the game right now and join you." And then someone else joined, and it kind of just turned into this thing where like I couldn't go back from that point. They were like, "Yeah, you can play single player too." I started doing that maybe for like an hour, and then during the stream they were like, "Yeah, maybe you should try multiplayer." And then there was no going back for me because you're right, like being able to work together, not everyone can come and go as they please on the server, but there's always something to do, and it's a lot easier when you have some extra people there to hang out with, chat with, have a good time, but also be able to do those jobs together that really streamline it all, which is cool.
well, the work gets done quicker too. So,
Yeah, that's a nice
yeah,
bonus.
the work gets done quicker. So.
Yeah, I've done a like a bailing contract years ago, which like try to do it by myself. I made that like rookie mistake of like looking at the contract list and picking the one that's going to give you the most money, not
Most
knowing that
money.
that translates into the most work as well, like the most amount of time. And trying to do a bailing contract of that magnitude by yourself is gonna take a long time to do. It's definitely nice to have some friends around to help out.
Well, it's like in game, I will not do potatoes or sugar beets unless I'm doing multiplayer and I have help because
Right? Smart.
I refuse to do those alone.
That's smart. That's very smart indeed. What's up, KW? Thanks for helping out moderating today, and everyone over on YouTube as well. I see Hendrick and Tornado over there helping out with the moderation. I appreciate you all. Yeah, so what now going like more like present time and talking about 22, you've had the game now for like almost a year and a half at this point. So how you feeling about 22? What's been your favorite things about that game so far?
The sound,
Okay.
I mean, it's so much more immersive when the sound was redone. And it's the little things. There's a lot of little details in 22 that 19 just didn't have.
Right.
Like when you pull under a shed with the tractor, the sound completely changes. And I don't know, it's amazing when you look at a lot of little details that the game now has.
Yeah. Yeah, it adds the extra layer of like atmosphere, making you kind of like feel immersed in the game more for sure. Like
Yeah,
you don't really think about when you're looking at something like visually and your brain's processing it, like you don't really think about like the sound that goes along with it. Something as simple as like seeing a bird in a tree, there's also a sound that goes like along with that, right?
yeah.
So it's the same as like do you play in cab view a lot or out of cab view?
Both.
Both. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
even that when you if you switch between the two, like the sounds are even different. Like if you're in the cab or you have the camera outside the cab. So it's those little things you don't think about when you're sitting in a tractor and being have all those extra sounds around you adding to the atmosphere. I love it.
Chat's telling I'm a bad driver.
Oh yeah, I saw you smile, and I
Yeah.
figured that it's always they always bring out the inside jokes and picking on the guest, but I love it, right? Because that's what goes on. Every
Yeah.
streamer knows that's like a sign of love when your community makes fun of you and you're driving and things like that.
Yeah. I may have killed some chickens in 19 with the seasons mod by not feeding them once.
See, that's what you got to throw in allegedly. Allegedly.
Yeah. I was just using the special chicken nuggets mode that day.
All right, all right. um, what's been your favorite map so far on 22? Have you found one that you've stuck with, or you find yourself like moving around, every month or two?
I've moved around a little bit, but I will say we spent almost 500 hours on Elm Creek,
Wow.
which
Okay.
I really liked it. I mean, Giants really outdid themselves on that for it to be a base game map. I'm not trying to throw shade, but some of their other base game maps in like 19 and 17, they just didn't have the same feel. But Elm Creek was, I thought, really well done, and we spent quite a bit of time on it. So.
Yeah, I think that like the game continues to grow, the community is growing, the mod creators are growing, which is amazing. But Giants as a company too, as like a side effect of the success of those other three things, the game becoming more popular, then Giants as a company has now been able to grow. So being able to grow the teams that work on maps, you can see it in Silver Run Forest too. I don't know if you played a lot of that map because it's forestry, related, but even that map you can kind of see more people working on maps, like technology being added into the game that wasn't there previously. And so I feel like we're in a good place right now where we're progressing our maps. And of course, our next map from us is coming out later this year as part of the expansion for the year two season pass. You can get it separately too. But I think that a lot of people will be really pleasantly surprised with that map too. And no, chat, I will not tell you anything else about it. I know you're going to try now, uh, but I think people will be happy with that. But then, of course, like we also love the modders out there that make maps. Last week we had Omatana on the spotlight. There's so many other people that make amazing maps out there. So there's always something cool, something new to go check out. So it's cool that you said that you did 500 hours at Elm Creek. So of course, like before the modded maps were getting released, you didn't have the choice of doing anything but the base game maps. But 500 hours in a base game map is pretty impressive. How many months do you think that took from the beginning of the launch before you moved on?
Probably at least 6 months.
Wow, okay.
I wouldn't really be sure. We also spent a considerable amount of time. A couple of us did on Silver Run when it came out,
Okay.
and we launched the boat and we built a
Nice.
roller coaster in it. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's cool to hear. Yeah, like I think that our team has been like extremely proud internally as well in Elm Creek and in Silver Run, and I think what you said is a fair assessment. Like you can notice a difference between the quality of those maps compared to the base game and previous games, and it's just all about having more resources at hand, more manpower, more hours worked that we have within the company to get things like that done. So hopefully, the game, as long as the community keeps loving it and supporting it, and we can keep it moving forward in a positive direction, then the company will continue to grow, and then it'll just continue to become better and better. And I know that last question I always ask people in the spotlight, which we'll get to later, is partly like because if you play this game like yourself, Guru, like you just 500 hours alone on like one base game map. Do you know what your hours total are at this point now, a year and a half or so in?
At least 1,800.
Yeah, I mean, like people that get into Farm Sim, it's not just a game that you play a couple of times and then move on from. The people that get into it, you guys are playing it for thousands of hours, which is crazy. I'm being attacked by this cord right now. Hold on. I mean, so like you're passionate about the game. You want it to be the best that it'll be. So that's why I always ask that question. But it's still cool to see you, feeling that way about a base game map. What about modded maps though? Like, what have you gotten into as far as those go?
Modded maps, I tend to go a different route. We normally go. He's laying beside of me, Blue Dog. I tend to go to the create your own type maps because I couldn't make a map if I wanted to in my life, but the kind of blank slate maps let me build my own farm in a way.
Right.
So we spent a lot of Valley, was it Avon Valley? And currently we're playing on, oh, I'm going to get it wrong, I think it's Newlands.
Okay.
And they're both the build your own type map. So I
That's really
really
cool.
enjoy those.
I think that's such a
It lets me build the farm the way I like. I mean,
right. Yeah,
I enjoy those as well.
those maps are really unique because it's like it's almost the map creates a play style all of its own, but the play style could look different from one person to the next too because it is a clean slate, right? Like maybe you go in
Yes.
and you've got your vision of like, okay, here's this blank canvas. Maybe we put, this shed over here, or we plow, fields for this crop here, or I want to put an animal pen over there, and then someone else comes and does it in a completely different way. Those maps are really intriguing to me because of that aspect of being able to start with a blank canvas and really build everything from your own from scratch from the start. Like it almost gives you a feeling of like more ownership over the save that you're playing on. Like, I started with a
Makes it
blank
feel like
canvas.
yours.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I started with a blank canvas, and now hundreds of hours in, it looks like this. 1,000 hours in, it looks like this. I love those type of maps too. I'm really cool. I'm really happy to see them like doing well and continuing to be made because there's definitely a large portion of the community that loves that play style. All right, cool.
See, Trouble joined the YouTube chat just now.
Oh, we got
I
trouble
can't
in
believe
there.
y'all let. Yeah, I can't believe y'all let DJ in.
Oh, TJ, go ahead. He's trouble. Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
far off. No. What's up, DJ? What's up, everybody else? That's funny. Okay. Well, like, other than the sound, like, what's been like your favorite thing? Maybe like about 22. What have you really enjoyed? Maybe more specifically, that you and your community have gotten into with 22. Some of the things you've done together.
Well, the one thing is the productions. I know that's some people doesn't view that as farming, and they might be right, but it just adds so much more to it. Like our goals originally was we're going to bake the cake and sell cakes, and it took us quite a while to build up from nothing to being able to sell a simple cake.
Right.
And the productions add so much to the game as well. So I mean, it was one of those things where it gave new goals to buy this production or that production, and sometimes you had to buy one production to make another thing,
Right.
and it just set a lot of in-game goals, which I like to do. So,
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, if you don't like productions, that's fine. If you do, that's great. I personally like them because it's a game at the end of the day. I play it to have fun, and it gives me that extra like job to like think about to work towards. Whenever I start a new map, I'm almost always thinking like, what do I need to set up to have like a certain production be like the end result? And with cake, like you
yeah.
said, I almost tell people when I'm teaching people, like at PAX or gaming conventions, or maybe just over the internet, like in a DM conversation, like trying to get people to help them learn the game if they're going to create content for it, especially. And I start talking about productions. A lot of people get really excited when you're like, well, you can take your wheat to the mill, turn it into flour. Then you can take the flour to the bakery and turn it into bread, or you can like add in strawberries and milk and butter
Yes.
and eggs and all these ingredients, and you can make cake. And I always tell people like cake is almost like the end game of productions. Like if you want to do cake starting out, it might be a little tough with all the things going on with it. Maybe you want to start more simple and just like turn your wheat into flour first, or maybe bread. But yeah, I always kind of view the cake and the productions as almost that like end game production because you've got to have a lot to put into it.
Yes. Cake took quite a while. That's the other part of the reason why it took us that long. But at the same time, we really enjoyed Elm Creek a lot. I mean, we built quite an empire on Elm Creek and owned almost the entire maps.
Yeah, isn't it hard to let like that go after like putting that much time into it? Like you know that you're ready to move on to something else, but then you're all like, it's kind of
Yeah.
that bittersweet feeling of like, man, we just put like 500 hours into this, and now we're gonna walk away from it. You know?
Yeah, it was kind of hard to walk away after you build it up, but at the same time, there's so many great maps and so many great mods and stuff, and that's another thing that keeps the game fresh and interesting. There's always something new, and there's something for everybody too. So,
Right. Yeah, I love it. By the way, what's up, Red Dirt Ranch over there on Twitch?
yeah,
Hey, buddy,
Jimmy.
what's going on, Jimmy? Driver 53 and over on YouTube. Good to see everybody. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, are you? What map are you on right now?
We're on new lands right now.
That's right. Okay, you were saying that. So, how's that
That's
shaping up for you and your community so far?
well, it's been very interesting because I've never personally used like the augers in game to load the grain bins,
Right.
and that was very very interesting to learn how to use those and set those up. So,
Right.
but that was what we went because every time I try to switch maps, I try to do a different style playthrough, and I ain't gonna lie, I typically end up leaning towards John Deere because I don't know, I'm a green guy, I guess,
I like green too.
and
It's fine.
blue dog. It's an auger pipe technically. It's a pipe with an auger in it. I'll just go that route.
When we did the promotion for the launch of 22 with Laura Farms, and we were like showing her the game that day, she was like, "I've got one complaint right away," and I was like, "Okay, what is it?" And she was like, "What the heck is an auger wagon? It's a grain bin or a chaser bin."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I agree. Fair enough. Maybe just one of those translation things." But it is cool, like how like you've played the game for thousands of hours, and now here you are, like still learning something new about the game, right? Like you still
Oh
have those
yeah,
moments,
most definitely.
no matter how much you play, right? Like you are still learning something. I feel like with our game,
Most definitely.
as long as you're willing and open to learn, then there's something there to learn for you, even if you have spent those thousands of hours. Just like Driver said when you were talking about productions, he made a comment on YouTube saying that like for him the productions have given him a reason to like go and like grow other crops or raise animals other than like, and this is what I used to do too, so I agree, like instead of just doing like same crop or two crops over and over and over and then selling it, it kind of gives a little bit more depth to the process of thinking about the gameplay that you're doing if you're wanting to set up productions, which is cool.
Well, we would buy like on Elm Creek. We bought and designated certain fields. It was wheat field, and another field might be the cornfield and such.
Right, it factors
And we
into
would
your
we would
thinking.
do that. Yeah, it would factor into how we planned it out. I actually went as far as the guys that were helping me. I would took a screenshot of the map, and made a little overlay and telling them what crops went where, so nobody would plant stuff in the wrong fields.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's fun to play. Man, it's one of my favorite things in a game as well, is like planning out what I'm gonna do. Like before I even do it, like I like to build my own farmyard. Um, Even if I'm playing single player, I'm going like clean slate for like the farmyard. I'm not doing new farmer because I want to like place the buildings to fit what I need. But it's always fun to start a new map because I probably spend like one time I spent like 20, 30 hours just setting up a map. Like I hadn't even played it yet.
Easy.
This was setting it up for like me and my community. This was on 19 before I got hired, and I was still streaming it on my own. And it was on Griffin, Indiana. And I was like, I really like Griffin, the map. And then on multiplayer with the farmyard removed, like I was like, I think I can get like really creative here and do something like cool for the community with this map. So I spent 20 to 30 hours just finding mods. I made sure like I did all the mods on Mod Hub. and just went through, picked out the type of buildings I wanted. I even like had mailboxes, like each of us had our own mailbox out like at the end of the driveway. Found like
Yeah.
a really cool office to put down. So we treated it like that's not, we didn't necessarily have a farmhouse to spawn into. We treated it more like it was the farm office. And then we put the barns around and the silos and everything else that we needed. And it's really fun to do that, especially because there's so many mods. You can just spend hours and hours digging through them.
Yeah, then everything has to have its own home too. You know,
Right?
your baler always goes in the same shed in the same spot. You know, your plow always sits in the same spot. At least on my farms, they do.
I knew I liked you for a reason. Like I'm the same way, man. Like
Yeah,
if part of it is like because I realize my own issue. If I don't do that, then I'm gonna be like, where the heck is this baler? And I'm gonna be running around. So like I make myself get into the habit of putting it in the same place so that I don't have to struggle
yeah,
remembering where I left stuff. It's funny how like I've I've had times where like playing the game and it's like you need to like go do something else. Maybe dinner's ready or you got a phone call or whatever. But I have a really hard time like just stopping where it is and not putting stuff back up too. I've almost had to force myself to be like, it's okay. I play at least like my servers pause when no one's on. So if like everyone leaves, it's gonna be fine. We can leave it where it is,
yeah.
and then we'll pretend that we just pick up where we left off. But once the job's done, that machinery is being put back where it's supposed to be for sure, 100%. Modding Unlimited on Twitch says the way I was raised, you put it back where you found it. Exactly.
Yes, everything has a home.
Yeah, exactly.
It
But I mean,
always has a home.
if you want to just be putting stuff wherever, that's fine. But don't do that on my farm. You want to do it on your own farm, people out there? I'm fine with it. Just don't do it on my farm. Oh man, I love it. Okay. Yeah, I do like to wash my equipment in the game as well. Although like real farm equipment doesn't look pristine, spotless after a simple wash, that's for sure. But it is a game. I'm the same way. Blue Dog says you're very picky when you play as well. Is that true?
Well, I tend to think of myself as the farm manager, so yeah, I probably am.
You're the boss then,
Everything,
huh? All right.
yeah, I'm the boss. Everything has its home, and there's a way we do things.
All right. So how many reprimands does Blue Dog have at this point? Like how many reprimands are in his file?
Oh, they're normally pretty good. The guys that play with me when they play, they know that when I say something, it's going to happen. Um, Most of them, the most crap I get is when I have a tendency to spend more money than we make some days,
Oh, okay.
and that's my problem. I like new shiny toys, and that's where our farms get in trouble.
Gotcha. They're
That
trying to
new
hold you
cell,
accountable, but they're
yeah.
powerless.
What the new cell feature in game really hurts because it's like, hey, look at that. That's a great deal. That's 61% off, but we don't really need it, but we need it because it's 61% off, and then I end up spending money. So
I love it. I love that that feature coming back into the game. Like a game feature leads to your end game impulse buying. Like you're like, hey,
yes, it
we
does.
might never get another chance to buy this thing at 60% off, guys. Like, I mean, we don't really need it,
Yeah,
but what if we need it in like 2 years in game, and then we wish we would have bought it at 61% off instead of full
yeah,
price.
exactly.
I love it.
We can eat noodles for a few months if we have to.
Getting the ramen packs from Walmart, 10,
Yeah,
10 for $10, are you, or whatever they are. Oh man, I love it. I love it. That's really cool, and I love that your community is in chat, like talking about it. What's this about pink tractors, Guru?
I have drove pink tractors. Occasionally, my youngest daughter comes in and she'll play with me, and I'll let her drive around, and we normally have a pink tractor for her. So
Awesome.
if
Love it.
if we have the money, we'll have a pink tractor just so she can drive it around because she likes to do that. So
You know,
I'm hoping to soon get them to actually be able to play with me.
that'd be
Right
cool.
now, they'll just come in and kind of take over. So hopefully they'll start playing shortly. So
So JBot on YouTube said loans are your friend. You know, for the longest time in the game, I had a problem with taking out a loan in Farm Sim. And now I just take out as much as I want. But for the longest time when I first started playing, I was like, I'm not taking out loans and we're not buying everything we want and we're gonna like earn it. And then I just realized like, you know what? This isn't as fun as if we just let's just max out the loan and buy what we want. Some point I
yeah.
changed my tune on that.
Well, when we played Elm Creek, we put in the mod that allowed us to borrow up to $10 million, and that might have been what we did. And we was $10 million in debt for quite a while,
Oh, I
and
love it.
it took a long time to dig out of $10 million of debt. So.
I bet it did. I bet it did indeed. Wow. But yeah, that's the thing I love about the game. Like, you know, do what you want with it, as strict or as unstrict as you want. That's the beauty of it, right? Especially you can add a mod in and just go even further in debt. It's a
Yeah.
game. It's all right. Don't go in debt in real life if you can avoid it. But even that's tough these days. So, and the game, why not just go crazy in debt and not worry about it? What's the worst that's going to happen? You know, the loan sharks won't show up at your farm in Farm Sim
Yeah,
and
you don't
demand their
lose any
money back.
fingers over there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. Okay, what would be your advice? Because you've been playing the game for a while now. Actually, you know, I never even asked you. How long have you been streaming Farm Sim?
Quite a while. Well, at least over a year.
Oh, just
I,
so under 2 years, you think?
I streamed it a little bit here and there because I started out streaming World of Warships,
Okay,
and then I would stream different games here and there. But probably about a year ago, I switched over to pretty much Farm Sim exclusively. It's just a lot easier for me. It's less stress. Um, I get a little worked up when I play competitive games,
I know that feeling.
and I just don't think it's good look for me raging because I don't like watching people that sit there and rage and
Agreed.
go off the handle. And when I would do it, I'd go back and watch my videos, and I'm like, I didn't like the look, so I went to a less stressful game that I knew I enjoyed, and Farm Sim it was. So.
I know that feeling. There was a period in my streaming that I felt like forced to. It was when I was a mixer partner. I felt forced to like move away to games that were more like popular at the time. Like that's what we were kind of directed to do. Microsoft was getting people features on the Xbox dashboard, so they really wanted to see people playing like PUBG and Fortnite and FIFA and things like that. So I played a little bit of PUBG. I played a little bit of FIFA and started like doing just FIFA exclusive streams. And I love those games, but I'm the same way. Like I don't like the person that I turn into when I'm playing like a
Yeah,
really
I don't either.
competitive game.
I rage pretty badly. And hey, XR, I dressed up for you.
Hey, what's up, XR? Yeah, he's got the tie on.
I put my tie on for you.
Yeah, I'm with you though. That's what drew me into Farm Sim so much. Like it fits my speed so much better. It's relaxing. You can sit there and play it. Always have something to do, but still like be chilled out, relaxing and chatting with people and having a good time. It's what I love about it for sure. All right. Okay. So yeah, so you've been streaming it for about 2 years. So maybe give some people out there advice, like as far as playing the game, and then as far as streaming the game goes, just from your experience.
Just focus on the fun factor. I mean, if it's not fun, then why are you doing it? And that goes for any game that you might want to stream, whether it be Farm Sim or any other one. It's about having fun, and I can't stress that enough. Because if you're not having fun, especially as a streamer, your chat will see that you're not having fun, and then they're not going to be able to have fun either. So,
Right.
and it and it and you don't have to be that professional. Cowboy's going to love this, but I always joke around because he used to call me a low class streamer just as joking because me and him was pretty good friends, and I'd be like, "Well, I'm not even low class. I'm no class." Um, yeah. So I mean, I just like to have fun, and it's your show at the end of the day, and you got to do what makes you happy. So.
Right. I don't know. I think putting a tie on for this stream, that's pretty classy right there, Guru.
Yeah, see, I know. I'm trying to shape up my image here.
You can totally brag about you can brag about that going forward if you want. You can become just claim yourself as the first and only guest of the community spotlight to wear a tie. You've got that title. Own it now.
See, okay.
Talk about it. That's gonna become your whole thing now. Oh yeah, go for it. Run with it. Having been like, being a content creator all the time, like joking or seriously, like I tell people like, you got something unique, like run with it. So, I think that you mentioned at the beginning that people kind of underestimate you at times due to your accent. That's like a thing that I think, like I said, my wife can relate to it. A lot of my family as well. But man, own it. Because now, like, that accent, especially my wife, maybe it's just because she's charming, but you turn the charm on with it, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, people out here now, like, even more so, we lived in Colorado, now we live in Illinois. People here in Illinois, even more so, like, love the accent. They find it charming. And they're always commenting on it in a positive way to my wife. Because everyone here just has, like, the same Midwest kind of accent. Now the people that like grew up like in Chicago, they've got like the Chicago accent, which is like a different thing. But the people from the suburbs, it's very like plain Midwest accent. So own it is what I say.
Yeah.
I
like accents. I mean, myself, like, I watch a lot of people that's British and European because I like their accents. I think it's neat to listen to. So,
and that's a cool thing I think about like streaming and online gaming in general is meeting people from all over the world. And I think that like we're not the only community. There's a lot of them out there, but I feel like our community is unique in a lot of ways in that it is a little bit more of a laid back atmosphere. It's not a competitive game, so we're all like here to like kind of hang out, play the game we love, learn from other people, play the game with them as well, make friends. So you can meet people from all over the world, and it is really cool to hear all the different accents. I mean, just England alone has like crazy amount of different accents. It's wild, like how many accents you can get just from within England. It's not a very big country, all things said and done, and they have like 40 different accents. It's wild.
Yeah, like every little region over there has its own little accent. So it's kind of neat.
Colorado people like that are like born and raised there, they don't have like an accent at all. Like you couldn't classify it as anything. Like Tony said earlier, I have a TV accent. But
radio announcer voice.
I definitely have that, but I mean I have experience doing that in the past too, right? But yeah, it's interesting, because this country too, it's a massive country, but we've got people with different accents. Even the Southern accent, like someone from Texas sounds, to me at least, completely different than my wife or you sound. Like honestly, I think my wife and you even sound differently, even though like same region of Appalachia. So I think that depending on even those smaller regions, there's so many different things. Like definitely own what makes you unique, even more so in like the content creation world, the streaming space, because it's one of those things that you said, like you were joking that you called yourself a no class streamer, but streaming at the end of the day, the awesome thing about it is like, You don't need a whole lot of equipment to get started, especially if you don't stream without a camera. Um, the barrier of entry to create content is pretty low. Succeeding at it is very high. Um, but I think that the things that set people apart are like own what makes you unique, because there's 1,000 other fish in the sea, but you are the only one of your type in the world, right? You're a unique person, so definitely own it. Is what I would say.
I'm
That's my
definitely
advice.
unique.
Like I'm waiting for your community to be like
Yeah.
to agree.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
I love it though. Okay, here's Cobra and the Goat saying, "Guru, looking good up
Yeah.
on this page."
What's up, Cobra?
So yeah, what about like streaming? Like for you, like how have you found it? Like the highs and the lows. How do you keep going with it? What do you enjoy about it? And maybe even tell people like what's tough about it if you're open to that.
The toughest part for me is balancing family life and streaming. And because streaming is, as you know, it's not just hitting a live button and going live. There's a lot of other stuff that you do day in, day out behind the scenes. And I'm terrible at some of that stuff. Your sound and just your little stuff that's behind the stream. XR, I do not love beans. And I don't like mustard either, kidding before you start. And I mean that's a big balance, is balancing family life and streaming, and then there's also times where you just want to play a game not on stream, cutting back with your friends and stuff. So
Yeah, I
I
try
mean
to.
it's definitely a big balance there. There's only so much time in a day.
I
So
definitely encourage people to still like go play games outside of like streaming. If especially like it does seem like Farm Sim has a pretty high amount of content creators that focus solely on Farm Sim, or maybe they do Farm Sim and Truck Sim, but they're usually in that like similar realm. We're getting more and more variety streamers now that are doing Farm Sim content, which is great because that shows that like the game is even more like well known outside of the circles that it started in. But yeah, I encourage people all the time, like you're a gamer, like make sure you're playing games outside of streaming too. Like as long as you have the time to make it all work without suffering, because it's easy. Maybe it's harder with Farm Sim than other games. I know when I streamed a lot of FIFA, I've like really fell out of love with the game just by like the interactions of streaming it. Farm Sim, I feel like maybe you love it more because the community's there to hang out with you, uplift you, help you out.
yes.
But yeah, it's important. And like you said, like yeah, play those games off stream too. You don't always have to be online and present. I made that mistake when I was a mixer partner. I felt like if I'm playing a video game, I should be live right now. I'm wasting time if I'm not live. But like that's kind of a stressful situation to put yourself into because you may
Yeah, you
not
gotta
be.
have you time is what
Yeah,
I call it. That's you
100%.
time. I
Um,
mean, I'm still me when I'm streaming, but I want to, I do present myself a little bit different, just
right.
not a lot, but it is a little different because I do feel I need to present a little bit more professional. And I'm happy that Hendrick Outdoor over on YouTube learned one thing today, and it's how to pronounce Appalachia.
Yeah, I was about to call that out too, and JBot
Yeah.
agreed. So I'm glad we could educate you folks on how to say Appalachia today.
Well, Hendrick, you came to this area and you pronounced it wrong, you'd quickly learn how to say it because somebody might throw an Appalachia for saying Appalachia. Appalachia is incorrect.
We've actually been asked like a few times, like, is that the right way to say it? And I'm like always like, listen, I won't like. I think the people from that area should be the ones to say like how something's said.
Yeah.
So there's Louisville and Kentucky, and then so I grew up saying Louisville because Kentucky was nearby where I grew up, and then we moved to Colorado, and there's a town, same spelling as Louisville, Kentucky, but it's Louisville, Colorado. Same
Yeah.
spelling and everything. That's the weird feeling of the English language. But again, go with what the people say in that region, right? So in Colorado, you don't have the Southern accent. It's Louisville. In Kentucky, it's Louisville, or you're wrong.
Yeah. That
uh,
way I'm not falling asleep.
okay, cool. You've talked about the community already a little bit. You said actually, I asked you what was your favorite thing about Farm Sim 22, and you actually said the community was like your
Yes.
favorite thing about the game. But can you expand on that a little bit? Like, what is it about the community, maybe even more specifically your community, that keeps you pressing that live button, keeps you coming back and hanging out with them? What do you love about it the most?
There's no negativity. I mean, no matter what you do, you really can't. There's nobody there saying you did this wrong or you did that wrong. Even if you're not doing it, I guess the actual way to do it in real life, like XR, he'll tell me, but he's not calling me out on it. He's just kind of telling me, hey, that's not how that's done in real life. But he don't really harp on me for it, and that's why I like the community. And I've really not met anybody that is negative in the community. Everybody is really positive and upbeat. And at this stage of my life, I try to preach positivity
Right.
and be happy, have fun. Life's short. I'm getting up there in age. March celebrating my 41st birthday. So I mean, it's you know
Wow.
average lifespan of a person. I'm over halfway. So you
Right.
know, just trying to be positive about things.
Yeah, I
And
feel the
that's
same
that's
way.
why too. Like one of the biggest things that I like to do as well. I really wanted to kind of bring this up because it's something I'm proud of my community for. Is every year on my birthday I do a charity stream for St. Jude's, which you guys helped out this year with as well, and I really appreciate that. Like this year, we were able to raise I forgot what $1,700 and 69 cents for St.
Awesome.
Jude's, which is really really I can't thank my community enough for that to their the support that they gave, and it was really fun to do, and that's what I'm saying. The community is just downright awesome. So
I like what XR said. Getting up there in age, I must be almost dead then, he said.
well, he is the old guy, right? He is the old guy.
Oh, oh, I love that about our game, though. Omatana said it last week in the spotlight. She said it really well. She said, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something like, little boys play farm sim, and then old grannies like me play farm sim. And then she said, and then people even older than me play the game.
Yeah.
I do think that, like, again, there's probably other games out there that are similar, but this is one of those unique characteristics I feel like our game has. There's even people who have never been gamers their entire life, and then they retire and they need something to do, and then they discover our game and they fall in love with it. Like, it's really unique to see that, because there's so many different play styles, so many different ranges of ages that play the game, and they all play it differently. Like, every little kid I've ever seen play Farm Sim Guru, like at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo or TwitchCon or PAX, the first thing that they do is find the pickup truck and then just drive it as fast as they can around the map until they crash it. Um,
So I'm still a little kid at heart. That's kind of what I do. Any new map that I first start in, that's one of the first things I do. Is if it doesn't have a pickup, I will buy a pickup and drive around the entire map at breakneck speeds just to do it.
right. But I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
So
Don't get me wrong. It's fun, right? I did it with the Kubota DLC with the sidekick. I was like, I want to see like how squirrely this thing will get if I just get it like top speed going around corners and stuff. And it was cool because I had been in one in real life when we did like the promo shoot for FarmCon last year. So being like in one in real life and having to like go by Kubota's rules, right? Like they're like seatbelts on, like like all the safety stuff, which is smart when you're doing it in real life. But then in the game, all that goes out the window for me. And the first thing I wanted to do was drive it as fast as I could, going around corners to see if I could flip
Yeah.
it. All right, we're getting towards the end, but XR is in here hanging out. I know you guys are buddies, and you've been playing his challenge recently. And this is something that I still want to get with him and get on the multiplayer stream soon. But tell me a bit about the challenge and your experience with it that XR has put together.
It's been fun. He's got a nice set of rules, and it's to simulate farming where he's from. And given he's an IRL farmer, what better person to create a challenge like that? And it's really brought new life to the game because it changed up the way that I played a lot too. Um, it brings you play a little bit more realistic
Right.
than than how I normally would play, and it's just an extra challenge to it.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out one day. I still can't believe that he's offered. You said he offered you a chance to drive a tractor, and then he
Yes.
offered. He said that he put me in the combine if I ever came and visited him, and I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that offer, but you have more faith in me than I have in myself, I think.
I think he's looking for free labor, but I don't think he knows what kind of labor he's going to get there.
Oh, that's
Clip on, B Mac, clip on. But it's the first tie ever on here, so I got that to.
oh, I love it. Okay, so we're getting like to the end now, so it's my favorite question. It's time for my favorite question, and I'm interested
Okay.
to see your perspective of it because you've played the game in a lot of different ways already. You're someone that you've said already today. You're learning how to play it new ways all the time, whether it's through XR's challenge or because you just decide to use a different piece of equipment in the game that you've never used. So am about to ask you my favorite question at the end. And again, everyone at home, this doesn't mean it's coming to the game, but I want you to dream big, Guru, and tell me in the future of Farm Sim 1 to 3 things, a couple of things that you can think of that you'd like to see improved on in the game or added brand new into the game. What would it be?
Well, I've touched with you on this in the past, but one thing I would like to see is years implemented to where you started out, say, in 1960. And you'd have to have the option to where you could start out in present day too, and it would unlock all the equipment. But you would start out in 1960 with like 1960 equipment, and then when you touched, say, 1963, you might get a new tractor, and then when you hit 1971, you might get a brand new combine of some sort. So it give a sense of progression and realism. Um, I do know that would probably make it tougher because you would have to have a lot more base game vehicles.
Right.
But then you could actually have like farming throughout the generations. And I wanted to give a props to that guy, even though I don't know him personally. There's a YouTuber that actually put out a series on that lately that I've really enjoyed. And I can't remember his name, so I'm kind of ashamed of that. But he actually named it Generations. And, he set it up from himself and kind of doing what I'd like to see in game if it would ever make it, though. And that's so I could start out in like year 1960 and then throughout the years, you get different vehicles that would unlock and
Yeah.
be like, hey, look, this new tractor come out because you hit, year 7, which is 1967. And I just think that would be cool.
Yeah,
So,
you told me this idea when I was in your stream one time.
yes.
And I was like, oh, is it Farm Sim guy? I think someone said, is that who did the Generations thing?
That
But
sounds right.
yeah,
I can't
FSG does
remember.
good stuff. If that was him,
Yes.
but yeah, I like that idea. Again, like I think it would be tough because most of the time, like brands that we work with are reluctant to put their older stuff into the game because they see the game as like a marketing tool. And in fact, real life farmers have even told me, like, I don't necessarily have time to like play the game a lot, but I might use the game to like demo a piece of equipment that I'm interested in buying but I can't like get my hands on unless I pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy it. Like there's no way for me to go test drive a combine if it's not in my area. And before I spend hundreds of thousands on it, like I would like to see it in the game and such. And I think that most brands realize that as far as our game goes. So it's usually the newer stuff. But with 22, you've started to see some more like older equipment being added. So the brands are kind of opening up to it a little bit. I think it's a fantastic idea. I don't know if it's possible to pull off or not, but I think that would be really cool if there was a game mode within the game like that. Because of Farming Simulator, like you said, you always have loved tractors and you never got to drive one in real life. For me, like, I think like every boy, especially, we grow up with like the Tonka trucks, or we have like little Hot Wheels cars, or maybe we're playing with monster trucks and things like that. Like, so you grow up playing with these models of big machinery. So it's almost like hardwired into us to like love machinery like that, right? So for me, like for Farming Simulator, I got into the game and now I'm obsessed with like learning as much as I can about agriculture. Being a farmer is not a job that I'll ever do full time personally, but I'm still fascinated by it, and I want to learn as much as possible. So a mode like that in the game would be a cool learning tool if it ever happens, where you could go back in history and see, because farming looks different now than it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago, and it looks different in this part of the world compared to other parts of the world. There's a lot to learn about farming, especially when you start digging up, the past and getting into how they did it around, post-war time and so on and so forth. Like how, especially the last 150 years or so, how quick the stuff went from like this simple plow that John Deere made to these tractors that are smarter than we are with what they're doing with technology and GPS and being able to build in precision farming that gets the minute details and things like that added in. Like it's crazy what they do now in farming with technology. So yeah, I like that idea. What else you got?
They pointing out the dog. He kind of come and snuck in. I told him to be good, guys, not be loud.
What else do you? Is there anything else you can think of you'd like to see added in or improved upon?
I would like to see animals be more in depth as well.
Okay.
That's my one complaint about 22. If I had a complaint, is I feel animals, in my opinion, took a step backwards. As somebody that I enjoy the animals. Right now, you can pretty much take an animal and feed it, and it can go a month or two without being fed again in game.
Right.
And before in 19, it was a mod seasons was. Yes, we want goats, XR. I want goats and turkeys personally. But the animals for me in like the 19 seasons mod, they were something to do on your slow times during the seasons. And then in the 22, it's kind of a streamlined seasons. So you don't really, the animals just seem to me like you feed them and forget them instead of having to tend to them.
Right.
Whereas in IRL, if you got cattle, you're out there messing with your cattle every day in some regards.
Yeah, they just broke loose of the fencing, and you got to go chase them down, get them back. And
just something in that regards would be nice. I mean, even if you had to go out and I know not everybody would want to see that, but if you could go and you had to fix your fence or your cow might get out or something. So. XR hush.
I like that. Yeah, I think that animal husbandry, I would agree. Like I love what the animal models look like now in between 19 and 22. We opened the Czech office, and that office is mainly 3D artists, so you can see that like uptick in, and not just the vehicles, but animals, the environments, and things like that. So it's really cool to see that.
Animals.
But now
baby animals would be nice too.
I would say that baby animals is probably, it would easily be in like the top 5, top 10 at least of things that I've heard people say that they would like to have in the game. It makes sense to me, and I definitely think there is room for like more depth to be added. Now, again, we will probably never put butchering of animals into the base game, just due to
Yeah.
certain restrictions and limitations that would come with that. But I mean, I would like to see more depth added as well, because honestly, like in 22, because of production chains, we were talking about it earlier. I used to be someone that like never really paid attention to uh, the animals in the game. Like I would usually have chickens, and that was about it because they're probably the
Yeah.
easiest to deal with in Farm Sim. But now I find myself like setting up a plan almost always around one type of animal. Like, okay, we're gonna raise cattle on this map, so we're gonna need a lot of silage. We need to make TMR, so on and so forth. So I personally too, in my playing of the game, would like to see a little bit more depth because, yeah, every time we add more depth, it just adds more value to the game. Like production chains, you
And,
said you enjoyed the
and then
depth that was added with
yes.
it. It would be similar, I think, with animals if we could do something.
Well, the other thing with animals too, like I go back to I guess like similar to Amish farming. You used to see people that plow with horses and mules. I know there's a couple mods out that kind of touch on that, but I would like to see that incorporated into the game as well, to where you could dual purpose your horses in game and use your horse to breed other horses and to plow if you wanted to play the old style stuff. So, just I'm not, because I like starting out with the most primitive equipment I can and seeing how far I can work down the line too. So
Yeah, that's fun to do. I like your ideas.
yeah,
That's why I asked this question, because usually it's fun because there almost everyone, if they answer multiple times, they'll usually say something I've heard before, like that, like you can tell the community really wants it, something like the baby animals or more depth the animals. But then also you get those really creative ideas like yours that I've never heard before from anyone but you, about like the generations and the history of farming and adding something into the game where you can go back and do this, that, or the other. So I love that question. That's why I ask it. And now I got to know, someone's cracked you up, I think. What's going on over here?
it's just XR talking about people cheating. He's the biggest cheater ever. I don't talk about XR. And then KT touched on something too. Like even as you're, you know, Farm Sim recently, the Silver Run and the logging, it would be so cool because my dad used to tell me stories about how him and my uncle they logged with horses, and that's how they drug the logs down to the trucks from
Okay.
the really rough terrain was by horses. And I mean that type of stuff would be really neat to see in game. Um, and then KW is the other one I was kind of looking at in the left, because I watch both Jab and Barry, and they are like Jab's like primitive, and Barry's like wide open, biggest tractor he can find. So,
Right.
but yeah, I just feel that the mules and the animals and stuff like that would be it'd be really fun to play with, even if it's only for a short amount of time until I could buy a old tractor and beat around in it for a while.
Right. Yeah. I love that. That would be cool. It's funny, like, farming looks different, and so many. It's needed all around the world, and there's so many different types of it. It looks different from place to place, and then you always hear these stories about how people used to do it or still do it, like you just shared about your dad and uncle, doing logging and dragging the trees out using horses and mules. I mean, it's wild to hear these stories. I definitely feel blessed to be sitting here chatting to people, a few times a month on these spotlights, because I feel like I always learn something about the person, about a story from their past related to agriculture or whatever it may be. That's really cool for me. All right, Guru, that's about it for today. That was the last question.
Appreciate it.
It was awesome to have you on. Tell people before we go, like where your channels are at, what time you usually stream, what days, and all that.
Stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Twitch, 11 to 3 Eastern time.
Perfect.
And
I did put
That's
those
where you'll
links in.
find me. I
There's the
did
links
take the
again.
day off though in anticipation of the day that I was pretty excited about today. So I appreciate you having me on over here.
Yeah, man, I was happy to get you
It's
on.
been a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, I get asked sometimes, like people are like, how do you pick people for the spotlights? Oh, thank you, Hendrik. You beat me to the punch there. It's twice in YouTube. But man, I discovered your channel uh, a while ago now. Probably it's been like at least a year or longer. Because when I started at Giants, like I just go through, I try to watch as many people as I can. I do like work a day shift, so I miss a lot of the people in the evening. So usually I'm catching people during the day more. Hoping to change that soon and shift around how my shifts work and work a little bit more into the evening because I miss out on the evening streamers like XR and other people because my shift, goes usually like until 4 or 5 p.m. But I want to be there for people in the evening more. Maybe even do some streams in the U.S. evening time hours again, like we used to do with the FSL Scrim streams that we did. Those hopefully will be back soon and some other things too. But yeah, I think the spotlight, like I have a huge list of people that I would like to get on, and I'll get them on there at some point. And then the list it keeps having names added to it, and then it's just about finding the time for everybody.
give me the list, and I will find a way to get them on here.
There you go.
I will
Yeah.
use my accent to persuade them.
I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah,
Oh, well, it was an absolute blast to have you here, Guru, and I wish you the best with everything going forward.
thank you.
Always enjoy getting to hang out with you and your community when I get the chance to do so. So definitely go follow him on Twitch. The links are in both Twitch and YouTube chats now. So if you want to hang out with Guru and his community in the future and become a part of it, you can do so. Before we go, pretty sure, but I need to double check that Kegarino is the guest next week. Sometimes I get my dates crossed, so let me look before speaking today. Yeah, there it is. Kegarino is our guest next week on the Spotlight, same time for that one. And then we're going to do a multiplayer session with Nitrado that they're kind of putting together on the 17th. That should be fun. And then the 24th would be back on the Spotlight with Simulation for the Nation. So that's what's coming up as far as streams go. Of course, lots more news, farming sim related, coming your way throughout the year. FarmCon is just a couple of months away now, and I'll be there again. We're going to have a lot of news shared during FarmCon for you all. So really now, we're 5 months in, but man, from this point forward, it's just going to be really nonstop action. Buckle up. We've got the mobile game coming out in a few weeks. Some people already have extremely early previews of that were very limited. You might see like press talking about it as well because they've got like an early access of it on Switch. So beyond that too, lots more to come for PC and consoles with FS22. So keep sending those bug reports if you have bugs. Keep sending us your suggestions on Discord and other places as well. And Guru, again, thanks for being here, buddy. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank
And
you for having me.
and it was awesome
It's been
to
fun.
set. I'm glad we set the record straight for our international audience on the proper way to
Appalachian.
say Appalachia 100%. And with
Yeah.
that, we'll leave you all for now. Keep being awesome and see you soon. Thanks again, Guru.
Thank you.